In today's video, I want to give you guys a heads up about an awesome PC game making the transition to the PlayStation 4 come this summer. The official announcement for Frostpunk Console Edition came out. I want to take you guys through the PlayStation blog post and why you guys should be so excited for this game. We'll talk all about that. Also, coming up tomorrow, we're going to get the official revelation, the gameplay revelation, hopefully, of Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, and some art has leaked ahead of time through Amazon based on a shirt that was posted on that website, so I want to take a look at that. Also, Deck 13, the developers behind Lords of the Fallen and The Surge, are hard at work at The Surge too. However, they're already in talks about their next game, and their next game will be yet another Souls-like title. However, it will play a little bit differently. Days Gone is a game that I know has some of you guys a little bit skeptical. You don't know if you should be super excited for the game, if you should remain a little bit skeptical, but Sony Bend Studios looks to be doing a great job on that, and we now know when the reviews will officially go up. So if you need the reviews to ease your mind a little bit, or you need them as a confirmation on whether or not to drop your $60, you'll know that ahead of the game's official release. And lastly, Remothered is getting a sequel, and it is coming to the PlayStation 4, and it's due out sometime in 2020, so I'll give you guys a mention about that game as well. First up, Lead Society to Prosperity or Despair and Frostpunk coming to PlayStation 4 this summer. Now, this game comes from the same developers that brought you This War of Mine, and Frostpunk is a great game. There's an official PlayStation blog post coming from Kuba Stokalski, who is the lead designer of Frostpunk Console Edition, so I do want to read a little bit of that. Frostpunk Console Edition is a game of society survival coming to PlayStation this summer. Sometimes it's easier to picture a game in one's mind with a genre, but in this case, the genre is something you might not have seen before. I wouldn't mind the gaming community using society survival in the future to describe games offering similar experiences, but this one we've created a blue ocean. Frostpunk tells an alternate story of the 19th century industrial revolution where for unknown reasons our planet went into an extreme ice age, bringing destructive winters and an eventual collapse of civilization. Governments fall and humankind faces the threat of extinction. Your role is to lead a group of survivors, possibly the only remnants of the British Empire in a Victorian era. People under your command try to form an organized society that adapts to unforgiving conditions, and your vision is to create a new civilization hopefully capable of surviving the overwhelming cold. As the leader, you rule by introducing laws and customs that make society function in the way you believe is the right one, or sometimes with laws that make people obedient to your voice, the one and only right voice. And don't think it's easy. The game is going to challenge your strategic thinking and test your moral spine. In Frostpunk, the city must survive often serves as the only imperative. If thoughtful and careful society management wasn't enough of a challenge, you not only need to oppose this oppressive environment, but also explore it, discovering remnants of the past, gaining additional resources, and last but not least, rescuing survivors to further grow your community. Do what you must as extinction looms on the horizon and several of your people is of the essence, whatever the cost. Frostpunk is a game that I played quite a bit of on PC, and it's a great survival management game. When it launched on PC, it lacked a little bit of content, but they added more content, and it's really become a robust and refined experience. And on PC, it did release at a budget price point at $30, so hopefully it comes at that same price on PlayStation 4, and it could be a quality buy. Again, if you enjoyed a game like This War of Mine, which I thought was a tremendous game, Frostpunk is gonna be right up your alley. Visually, it's very pleasing. Let's just hope it makes a smooth transition to the PlayStation 4 technically and with its controls. Next up, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order will get its official reveal tomorrow as a part of the Star Wars Celebration event in Chicago, but some art has actually leaked ahead of time via Amazon. You'll see art through a t-shirt, and this art is pretty descriptive. You see a crashed starship in the background, looks a little ominous, looks a little bit bleak, and it dictates a pretty dark picture for the game. Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order is a single-player experience being created by Respawn, the guys that brought you Titanfall 2, as well as most recently Apex Legends, as opposed to EA's previous Battlefront titles, which were entirely multiplayer focused, although Battlefront 2 did have a single-player campaign as well. Those games, of course, left a lot to be desired, and they did not perform as commercially well as the majority of us had expected. If a couple years ago you told me that EA was going to be handed the Star Wars IP and they were going to create Star Wars Battlefront, I would have said that is a foregone conclusion to be a home run, but leave it to EA to figure out how to mess that one up. Unfortunately, Star Wars Battlefront has not resonated as strongly as I would have imagined, although Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order does give EA a chance to get the Star Wars IP back on track in terms of a gaming sense. Considering it is a single-player experience, people are going to completely detach this game to Star Wars Battlefront, and hopefully, as long as it delivers, and I have a lot of faith in Respawn as a studio, they've created some very compelling projects. I think Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order can turn out very well. Again, we'll officially see it tomorrow, and it should be released sometime this fall, and hopefully it turns out well, because honestly, if If this game turns out to be a flop as well, could you imagine Battlefront 1, Battlefront 2, and Jedi Fallen Order all being disappointing games? In the case of Battlefront 2, it's actually evolved into a pretty decent game. However, leave it up to EA to just create a promotional train wreck for a game and just ruin it before it really even gets off the ground, and that's kind of what happened with Battlefront 2, that's kind of what happened with Battlefield 5, that's what happened with Titanfall 2. I can kind of go on and on with that, but let's hope for something different with Jedi Fallen Order. Next up, Deck 13 is hard at work on the Surge 2 right now. Of course, they brought you guys Lords of the Fallen as well as the first Surge, games that played very much in a Soul style. And while they're committed to working on the Surge 2 right now, they're already thinking about their next game, and they're working again with Focus Home Interactive to bring on a brand new franchise which builds upon the strengths and expertise of the studio while talking to Game Watcher. Specifically, they spoke to John Close, the creative director of the Surge 2 at Deck 13, and they asked him about the title, saying, quote, "We really like the genre and we really like is staying on the action side of things, so we don't want to do a franchise or idea that is just too casual. We really want to stay on the challenging side of things." He continued by saying, "We want to do some things a little differently, so we're looking for something where we can do both of these things. It will play a little different, but I hope that the Surge 2 fans will give it a go too. We have ideas, we have a concept of what we want to do, and probably things will still change as we go along. We always want to do something that you really don't know where it will end up and it feels new, and apply that to those sort of games and staying true to the genre. Do bear in mind that this upcoming project is a long ways away. Chances are it will be a PlayStation 5 title," and he ended the interview saying, "It's a long way off, just starting production. Right now we're totally focusing on the Surge 2 and making it a cool game. On the other hand, it was very important for us to continue to work with Focus because we really like these guys. They do a nice job and we really feel at home here. There was a mutual drive to do something new together. It's not a small thing, something really big, but it's really just on the horizon right now, so it's a far way away. We're seeing more and more gameplay of the Surge 2. Hopefully that releases sooner rather than later, because the first Surge was a pretty compelling title, but I did see room for improvement. Hopefully the Surge 2 brings that with it." Next up, a game that some of you guys still remain a little bit skeptical on, but I'm hoping for the best, is of course the PlayStation 4 exclusive Days Gone. And if you want the critics' reviews to sell you on the game before you drop your $60, well, the reviews are gonna come up the day prior to the launch on Thursday, April 25th. The North American reviews will go up 5 a.m. Pacific, 8 a.m. Eastern. Over on the UK, that'll be 1 p.m. Europe, 2 p.m. And in Japan, that will be 9 p.m. Days Gone is a game that I'm kind of convinced is gonna be really good. The more and more I've seen of it, yes, I wasn't sold on the game back in 2016 when Sony Bend originally showed off the game just because it looked to be yet another open world zombie title, and just me saying zombie will probably annoy Sony Bend a little bit. It's a freakers game, but it's another big budget open world title with these zombie-like creatures, and I was like, man, is there gonna be a strong narrative in this game, or is it just gonna be mindless open world action, which isn't bad necessarily, but these Sony first party exclusives have been really built on big budget gameplay, yes, but also incredibly strong narratives, and it's gone to show that Days Gone will have that. It's got 6 hours of narrative-driven cutscenes, similar to what Spider-Man had, as well as God of War, and of course those games, from a narrative standpoint, were incredibly strong. I'm not saying Days Gone is gonna be at the caliber of those titles, being that it is Sony Bend's first PlayStation 4 title, and it's their first foray into a console game in a very long time. Remember that they were working on games like Siphon Filter on the PlayStation Portable, they were working on Uncharted Golden Abyss, which you can make the argument is a big budget game, but when you work on a game ground up for the PlayStation 4, it's a whole different ball game, and that's what we're gonna see out of Days Gone. The game will be out April 26th, so not much longer to wait, literally 2 weeks from today. And lastly, Mortis Games will publish Remothered Going Porcelain, the second title in Daryl Arts and Stormmind Games' Remothered psychological horror trilogy for the PlayStation 4 in 2020. They specifically said, "We're very excited to bring Remothered Going Porcelain to fans of the genre. The first game captured the attention of horror fans, and the second will have them anxiously awaiting the third." Stormmind Games commented saying, "It's an incredible honor to receive recognition amongst Italian developers as being the best in horror and indie today. We can't wait to surprise and terrify all over again in the sequel to Remothered." Again, that'll be out in 2020. I just wanted to give you guys a quick heads up on that, and if you guys are a fan of horror games, that's definitely going to be one to check out. But still a long ways away with a 2020 release window. We don't even have an indication if it's early 2020, mid 2020, late 2020. Hopefully it is early 2020, because listed as a PlayStation 4 game, you know that 2020 is going to be a big year. The next generation console, so you really need to get those games out earlier in the year so they don't get swamped by the PR buzz that the PS5 is going to bring, but that's a long ways away. We'll talk more about that as we get closer, but Remothered sequel is coming sometime next year. And that's going to conclude this video. Again, Frostpunk is coming to the PlayStation 4 this summer. We got some leaked art for Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. Again, the official reveal for that game will come tomorrow. Very excited for that, and excited on what Respawn can bring. The Surge 2 is in development right now by Deck 13, but they're already prepping up their next game with Focus Home home, and it'll be yet another Souls-like game, but it will play a little bit differently. That'll come a long time from now, as they are still hard at work at the Surge 2, but interesting that they are still sticking around with that formula. Days Gone reviews will go up a day prior to launch, and Remothered is getting a sequel coming to the PlayStation 4 in 2020. That's gonna conclude this video. Sound off with all of your thoughts in the comment section down below. Thank you for watching, and goodbye. Hey guys, we hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, make sure to hit the subscribe button, and if you're already subscribed, do us a favor and hit the bell icon. This way you'll be notified whenever we post a new video. That's the best way to keep up with all of our uploads, and we usually try to upload 2 videos a day. And with the bell icon hit, you'll be notified whenever we do upload a video. As always, thanks for watching.